Yeah, let's just start. Welcome everyone to today's webinar. We're going to talk today about the new Shopify checkout update. It's a super exciting and big update, part of the Shopify editions, which was announced around 1.5 months ago. Before we start, some housekeeping rules. So we're recording today's session. In case you can't stay until the end, we'll send out the recording later this week. And for the schedule itself of today, we're going to start with a short introduction, and then we'll dive into the checkout updates. We will tell you why the checkout is being updated and how this impacts your business and what you need to do to ensure you can make use of the latest features Shopify has pushed. And at the end of the webinar, we'll have some time for a Q&A and some questions from the audience. And today we're also giving away a free checkout consult, so consultation. And the team will pick the lucky winner. Before we start, Tico, can you do a quick introduction?
Yeah, of course. So my name is Tico. I'm head of tech at Phill, and I've been working here for a little bit more than 4 years now. In the last 4 years, I've specialized in building Shopify stores from scratch. So I think I've built a couple stores from the start to the end, work on tens of different Shopify stores. Also customized quite a few checkouts for our merchants that we work with. So that's why I'm really excited to talk today about this topic, because this will make our life as developers much easier, but also give much more features to the merchants we work with.
Yeah, nice. Thanks for the intro. And for the ones who don't know me yet, I'm Martijn. I'm one of the co-founders and a commercial director at Phill, responsible for sales and marketing. For today, we're going to talk about the checkout updates. We'll start with a short introduction of the agency. Then we'll have a look at the old, or let's say the current checkout. Then we'll look at the updates and the most important things to know for you, and determine together what's next and what you should do to ensure you can make use of the latest updates. And then we'll have time for some questions, like I shared. Before we start, we're a Shopify agency focused on fashion, lifestyle, and beauty brands. We started back in 2016 as one of the first Shopify agencies in Europe. We're a Shopify Plus agency, and our team helps with strategy, design, development, data, and growth. And we're with a team of around 60 people in Amsterdam. Like I said, we just moved to our new office. That's Gravenhekje. It's close to the central station. So if you're in the neighborhood, you can always pass by for a coffee. We had a nice company meeting, nice new picture, some new faces. And to give you an idea of the clients we collaborate with, like I said, it's a mix of fashion, lifestyle, and beauty brands. Most of the brands have the ambition to sell globally, and all of them are on Shopify. So without further ado, the checkout upgrade. Tico, how excited were you when you saw this news during the Shopify editions?
Yeah, quite excited. Also a lot of research to do, of course. So it was a lot to get my head around. But I think Shopify announced most of the features already during the summer editions. So the summer 2022, they announced the first features that we'll be talking about today. But of course, during the last editions in February, they went a little bit more deep into this, and they also announced that the current way of editing the checkout, so the checkout.liquid, will be depreciated in August 2024. And that, of course, changed everything. So first, I was really excited. Okay, what are these new features going to bring to us, and how can we implement them for our merchants? And then after that became okay, we're going to have to transfer all of our Shopify Plus custom checkouts to this new version. So a lot of work to be done.
Yeah, it's I think the same feeling we had, like the feeling I had was like super exciting. It was also what we saw after the webinar Tico and me did about Shopify editions, that we got a lot of questions about the Shopify checkout specifically. So we also received some messages from our existing clients, people who attended the previous webinar, and they were like, what's going to happen? So Tico and me decided, let's do a deeper dive and see if we can give you all the information you need to make the right decisions with the checkout upgrade. And it's quite interesting to know that the current Shopify checkout has been the standard for Shopify for almost 15 years, since the start of Shopify. And obviously they have been innovating and upgrading on the current checkout. And I think we can say that Shopify has made kind of a benchmark in the checkout space. They're well known for their checkout. It's well converting, but there were some challenges they had, and I think the most important challenge for them was that when they wanted to push new updates or upgrades to the checkout, they were kind of restricted to the flexibility they gave in the past to other Shopify Plus merchants. But also for us as an agency and collaborating together with our clients, it was sometimes quite a painful process to efficiently adjust the checkout. So making styling changes or adding more logic in the checkout, it felt a bit hacky. And the reason why we think it's important for you to think about the checkout and your plan to upgrade, it's because next year in August, the 13th of August, to be precise, the existing checkout.liquid file will be deprecated, like Tico said. That actually means it will just stop working, and Shopify will switch your current checkout to the new one. So it's dependent on how heavily customized your checkout is, if it's going to be a problem for your business or something you need to take in account. If you have a checkout and you never touched it, it's just working perfectly fine for you, then you also don't need to worry about the upgrade, because Shopify will do it automatically. But you can already request an earlier upgrade of the checkout, and we would definitely advise to do that. So I think we can dive into it, Tico. Tico is, as head of tech of Ask Phill, is going to give some practical examples to you to give you an idea of what the most important changes are. So maybe, Tico, we can start with looking at the current checkout.
Yeah. So the current checkout, or like we refer to it, or people internally, Shopify refer to it, it's the checkout.liquid. So this is a file that Shopify Plus merchants can request access to, and then you can start making adjustments to your checkout. These adjustments were often done by injecting code, so custom style or custom functionalities, and it always felt a little bit hacky because it was sort of open but sort of not. We always informed our clients that, we can do a lot of changes in the checkout, and we can do custom functionalities, but we also don't really advise to do it because, of course, the checkout is a really important step in the e-commerce flow. And every time one of these hacky introductions would be done, it could be that we introduce a breaking change. So that could mean that, for example, the checkout could stop working in a certain context, and that's of course not something we want. And next to that,
it's I think also like I know from the past that we sometimes had merchants who requested to, for example, build in address verification, which involves like making API calls to external databases. That also meant that the checkouts would become slower. And that's, I think, also the reason why Shopify, but also we advise don't touch the checkout. You want to have it as speedy as possible. Just add your logo and maybe adjust the order of the payment methods, but try and keep it simple.
Yeah,
but indeed, it's not always possible.
No, of course. Sometimes there's just a very important feature that our customers will need. I think one thing on top of that is that every feature that we would add to this checkout.liquid file, whenever Shopify pushes a new version to the checkout, so they would introduce a new feature or a new functionality, Shopify would kind of send a message out to all Shopify Plus merchants like, hey, we have a new feature. This will be upgraded to your checkout in 2 or 3 months. And then the developers, in this case, we would then analyze the whole checkout to see if all of these features are still working. What that means is that often these features will need frequent maintenance to keep them working. So I think that's something. And here you can see 2 custom checkouts that we have done, just 2 examples. So I think with Polaroid, we went quite extensively into the bundles. This was done with Shopify scripts, which next to checkout.liquid will also be discontinued in August next year. And you can also see some styling changes here.
So maybe to elaborate on this, what we had here was Polaroid is selling cameras, and their upsell is the film, which goes into it. They have all different kinds of color, and they make kind of bundles or package deals. And I think the way they wanted to have this built wasn't possible with existing apps. So that's why we use Shopify scripts in the checkout to build it custom for them. But it took quite a while to get it right. Right, Tico? Yeah,
indeed. So it was it works quite well, but it is not the most preferred way. And then I think for Vanilla, which you can see on the right, we also have a lot of custom changes here with styling, which took really a long time to realize, and also some other functionalities, as for example a pickup point solution, the store pickup in store functionality. So all of these changes, like I said earlier, we can do that and we could do that. We always have been doing that, but it's always something that we have a little bit like, should we actually advise our clients to do this? Yes or no?
Yeah, especially with the styling changes. If you keep it simple, just add a different color, different font, it's kind of okay. But if you want to go more in depth, we feel it's a bit useless, and it brings quite some risk with it.
And then on the other hand, our clients, they have like a custom Shopify team in storefront, which sells like the feeling of their brand. And then of course they want to continue this feeling in the checkout, which totally makes sense as from a merchant's perspective.
So did you have something to add more about the current checkout, Tico, before we go into the actual update?
No, I think that was it, just to set the context a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So then now we have the new checkout that was announced, like I said, last year. I think it was editions 2022, the summer editions. And let's see, I think you can just go directly to the new slide. So let's first dive a little bit more into why Shopify decided to do this. So I think the main goal is to make customizing the checkout easier, upgrade safe, and scalable. So like I explained earlier, is that if you would have a custom checkout.liquid and Shopify introduced a new feature, it would always take months for it to be rolled out to everyone because everyone had to manually update their checkout. I think this is not something that Shopify as a business wants. I think if you have, for example, I think in Magento, this could be something that is a more common issue, that you go from Magento 2 to 3 and then you have to transfer the whole platform. And Shopify, normally when a feature is rolled out, everyone directly gets access to it. But this was unfortunately not possible on the old checkout. So with this new checkout, they are opening up parts of it and closing down other parts, which means that whenever a new update comes along the checkout, it can just seamlessly be rolled out to all merchants who can then directly have access to it. And I think next to that, something that is also quite exciting to see is just the no-code and low-code customizations that will come to checkout. So first, if you want to change anything in the checkout, you would have to touch this file. So it would always come from a code perspective. And now they are more into similar as that you have on the storefront with the customizer, something that many of our clients who come from other platforms really enjoy. This is also coming to the checkout in a more extensive way. So that's also really exciting.
Yeah, I think if you say like, why is Shopify doing this, you're explaining exactly why they're doing this. I think the most important for Shopify, and what I always see, is the speed of innovation Shopify as a platform has. Features are pushed so fast, but we've seen it in the checkout itself, time stood a bit still in the last years. And the main reason is that upgrading checkout features for Shopify was very painful, and they don't want the Shopify Plus merchants to, let's say, need to upgrade their code in the checkout every couple of months. But by introducing this new framework and this new way of working with the checkout, they can ensure that they can just push new updates without breaking the checkout or without having an agency or your team fix stuff in the checkout. And I think the whole no-code, low-code vision of Shopify, like what they introduced with sections everywhere, that was not possible in the checkout yet. And now it's just, I think you're also going to show how it can be changed, but it's a big step forward.
Yeah. And I think if you look at the last time we had to update the checkout, I think it was maybe a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. And I think it's because Shopify has been working on this update for a long time. But if you look at the last Shopify edition, so twice a year, they announce more than 100 new features for the Shopify platform. So what my guess will be is that we're going to see a lot of these updates coming to checkout in the coming years as well.
Yeah, nice. So what is actually included in this checkout update?
Yeah, so like I said, that Shopify so they're moving away from this checkout.liquid approach, which is more or less one file where you can inject code and you can change almost everything. They're going away from that and more opening up some parts, but closing down other parts. And I think these are 4 of the main features that we'll be talking about today. So the first one is the branding API. So this is the way how from now on we will be styling the checkout. So changing the visual appearance of the checkout. Next to that, we have the checkout user interface extensions. So this will be the way how you can add elements to the checkout by using pre-built components. Shopify functions, which will be the extending or changing the default Shopify logic by writing your own backend logic. So this is a little bit like Shopify scripts currently is. So you can, for example, rename or reorder the payment methods and shipping methods, or for example, give custom discounts like the example we showed for Polaroid earlier, for example, a custom bundle logic. And then the web pixels will be the approach on Shopify's approach on tracking your customers' behavior in the checkout in the future.
Yeah, nice. The only thing I miss here is the one-page checkout, because I think that's for I think a lot of people listening to today, probably a feature everyone has been requesting for years. It's also when we have conversations with merchants who are currently on another platform, they're like, can I do one-page checkout? And that wasn't possible until now.
Yep.
I think in the coming weeks, months, they will roll it out. But I think today we're also going to show how it look like.
Yeah, indeed. We'll talk about it later, but I think it's not, for me at least, it's not quite clear when this will launch to all merchants, but you can already see it and we will show it later on.
So this is a more technical overview. I think when I first saw this, I was like, I'm not a developer, I cannot understand this. But actually, it's quite simple to understand. So maybe you can take us through it, Tico.
Yeah, maybe you should open the image up a little bit more. So I think the most important here is to see what will be, so these features that I just quickly explained, which we'll go into deeper later. I think the most important here is to see for merchants which one will become available to Shopify Plus and which one will come to this, like all other plans except for the Shopify Starter. So the checkout from the left, we'll start at the left. So the checkout extensions, which will be the custom elements that you can add, and the checkout branding API will be Shopify Plus only. So
Tico, the checkout extensions, those are, let's say, the micro apps which you can introduce in the checkout, right?
Yeah, indeed. So that will be on the information, the shipping, and the payment steps, adding new elements there. So, for example, like an input field or an upsell element or a custom banner. I think it's similar to what most merchants already used to, is that you can only add elements there if you're on checkout.liquid or Shopify Plus merchant. And the same is for the branding API. So before you still have as a default, if you're in a normal Shopify plan, you can always use the customizer to do some small style changes, but to really like take full advantage of all the style changes, you will need to be on Shopify Plus.
Yeah.
But there are also, I think, and that's quite nice to see, that they're also opening parts up for all other plans. So, for example, the post-purchase extensions, there will be a new step before the thank you page where merchants can add elements. So they can, for example, add a loyalty sign up or offer an extra upsell or collect additional data there. So post-purchase to do that. So that's quite nice to see. And then the checkout extensions that I talked about earlier, that will be only available on the first 3 steps. For all merchants, it will become available on the thank you page. So that's also nice to see, because before this was a Shopify Plus feature only. And Shopify functions will also become available for everyone. I think this has been already the case with Shopify scripts, if I'm not mistaken. And then the web pixel, of course, it kind of makes sense that everyone should be able to track what goes around in their checkouts.
Yeah, that's a very important one, and that's also one which needs an upgrade in any case, right? It's just, if your tracking is currently done properly with LFR or any other tool in your checkout, with these upgrades, it's important that you migrate this in the correct way.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think it's also nice to see in the whole Shopify ecosystem that it brings a whole new, let's say, breed of app developers. I think with the checkout extensions, there are already some early adapters who made quite some cool extensions. I think, you also introduced some today to show, right?
Yeah, I will show one today, and I think that's with the checkout extensions in the Shopify functions, which, of course, first were not possible by installing an app, and these are now like app first. So for example, if you would want a bundle functionality, you would have to go often into Shopify scripts, and now Shopify is making their own bundle app, but any developer can start making a bundle app. So what we expect to see is that there's going to come a lot of competitors in the market who will be going to build these custom functionalities, which you can then just install on your store.
Yeah, nice.
So I think the first topic that we'll just quickly touch on is the checkout branding API. So here's an example on what we can all do. So I think if you maybe took a look at like the Polaroid and Vanilla examples earlier, you can already see there they were also quite custom. And then the question is, well, what do we get more now? I think the biggest change in this is that this is more from a changing the styling will come now more from a design system perspective. So before, this is maybe more technical, but before we would change the styling of almost every field individually, and now it would go more of a design system. So we would say, okay, we want the border radius, so the angles on the corners, we want them to be like directly, or we want them to have like a kind of more smoother, and then you can just update this, and this will update throughout the whole checkout. And the same goes for fonts and for the colors. So you can just say, this is the primary color, and then certain elements will directly update to this primary color.
So it's kind of Shopify offering a shortcut for styling the checkout in a more easy, out of the box way.
Yes, exactly. And I think if you go,
probably it would be a logical next step that they probably set those parameters in the customizer later as well in the checkout, just like you're used to in changing colors and fonts on your theme, probably also for the checkout. Now it needs to be done through the branding API.
Yeah, so now but probably people are going to make apps, and probably Shopify themselves as well, where you can just do this from instead of just injecting code, it will just come from more customizer experience.
Yeah.
And then the checkout extensions, which I personally think is the biggest feature and the most exciting one. So I think what this basically means is that you can extend the standard Shopify checkout experience. So Shopify have opened up in their checkout certain places where you can now like add new elements. So you can, for example, add custom input fields to collect more user data or data for the order. So for example, like more clear delivery instructions. Or you can, for example, add a banner with more information regarding your shipping, and this is all can all be done through like that we code it ourselves, or we can install an app for that. So for example, a banner in the shipping page that during Christmas there might be a delay or order before the like 15th of December to get your order in time, stuff like that can be nice. And of course adding upsell elements to increase the average order value throughout the checkout. And then there's these custom, which I will show later in more of a customizer approach, like these places where we can that are open, where we can add these blocks.
And with blocks, you mean like extra input fields, or where we can request extra data from a customer, like you say the date of birth or stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. Indeed, we can Shopify have opened up. So basically all the elements that you can already see in your checkout will become also available to use again, if then for your own reasoning. So I think before it was always difficult. I mean, not impossible, but it was a little bit difficult to add these new elements to collect more data or create an upsell element. And now this is just all open up. So it's quite easy to add these, these blocks of these user interface elements.
Yeah, there was not really like a set and standard way to do it, and it was more done in a hacky way, right? In the past.
Yeah, exactly. And now what is quite exciting is that something like this if you would have done this in the old checkout and then you would have one of these checkout updates from Shopify, it would just be a hell to update this. And now updates can just go through directly while you use these third-party apps that are installed, for example, or make your own apps, of course. So yeah, I think that's something that I'll show here is that all of these locations where you can add these elements. There's already on the Shopify App Store a dedicated group for that. So maybe if you can open it up, you can maybe see. I think there's now already 20, 20 applications that are already ready to install, and you can expect like many more to come. So for example, here you see loyalty or adding extra elements or gift message boxes, etc. So a lot of developers are already working on this.
Nice.
And then I think this is something to show the power of the checkout branding API. So normally, if you would install a third-party application in your storefront, so for example, a wishlist app or something like that, it would take a lot of work from a developer to make this third-party application blend in with the rest of your site. Because of course these apps are kind of like out of the box, but then you would have to have like minimal settings to style them, and then we would have, from a front-end perspective, have to inject a lot of code to make these apps look more like the rest of the site and blend in better. But with the checkout branding API, we already created these rules on like what the visual appearance should be. So installing one of these apps should make them blend in with the rest of the checkout almost seamlessly. So that's really exciting.
So it's a better branded experience for the D2C brands with less effort for the development team to style it the way it should be styled.
Yes, exactly. And I think maybe people that are more like in the Shopify, or like more front-end developers, or go like visit the site, that quite often you can see when something is custom built or when someone is using a third-party app for that. And I'm expecting that this will be like less the case here. And I think this is your update that you're really excited.
Yeah, it's mainly because I'm always talking to merchants and to clients and to people building their store, and it's just one of the main points of feedback throughout the years I've heard. It's like, I want a one-page checkout. I saw there was a whole how do you say that? A discussion on Twitter, I think, with Harley, so the president of Shopify, and also in a podcast with Nick Sharma, and now they announced it. So instead of the 3 steps you were used to of gathering details, shipping information, and paying, as you can see now, something is added to carts. And then on the left, you fill in your contact details, and you choose your type of shipment, and then you can pay all from one page. And then especially with Shopify Pay, so let's say the payment provider of Shopify, it goes even more seamlessly. So before you know it, you suddenly bought one of the products. But it's like Tico said, we're not sure when they're gonna roll this out. I think it should be in the coming weeks. Usually they do it step by step, but super excited about this one.
I think it will take a little bit longer than the coming weeks, but you can already request early access for this just through the Shopify site, and then they will probably you can already check it out. And I think this is
how can you request the early access?
We can post a link later on, but there's on the Shopify.com, so you can request this as a merchant already. And I think if you're a Shopify Plus partner, you can also request this to your merchant success manager.
Yeah, so probably best reach out to your merchant success manager and ask them how you can get the one-page checkout.
Yeah, and I think what I think is this is also a great example of something that by going to this new checkout, that this is something that Shopify can do. because they have opened up certain bits, but also closing down other bits. So as you can imagine, if they would introduce this currently to the checkout.liquid, and would have to update every one of our checkout.liquids to be working with this, it would take a lot of custom work. It would almost be impossible. You can kind of throw everything away and have to start over. And then now with this one, with the new checkout, if Shopify says, we can do a one-page checkout, they can kind of just say, okay, we can launch this for everyone and you can opt in whenever you want. But I think that's something really, really nice.
Nice. So I think now we're gonna go a bit more in the technical part and also showcasing some of the differences, right, Tico?
Yeah. So we have prepared a small demo shop with some elements, some checkout. We used the checkout branding API to add some styling, and we used custom user interface extensions for the birthday field, and we used a third-party app for upsell on the checkout. So I'll be showing those in our store and just see what the new user experience is, and see how you can then customize this. And we will also quickly show the one-page checkout, which it's not in this shop, but we see.
You can share your screen. Nice.
Yep. Okay. Should I zoom in a little bit? Okay. So I've prepared a little demo shop. So
nice. I like the design.
It's the Shopify done. Maybe you recognize this image from last Friday.
Yeah, definitely. So last Friday we had a big drop together with Clint. For the people who don't know him yet, it's been said he's the next Supreme. So he has a brand called Cortez, CRTZ. And he did a collaboration for the first time with Nike. And it was quite exciting. So yes. Definitely, if you don't know him, Google him, CRTZ X Nike. And, you can find some fun marketing stuff there. Guerrilla marketing.
Yes.
So show us the checkout.
And we'll just go to the checkout. So I think we kept the styling rather simple, and as you can see, it looks a lot like the current checkout that we're used to. But there's two elements that I've added here, but we'll just focus on the first one now. So as I said, with checkout user interface extensions, we can collect more data of our users or of the orders. So what I've added here is, for example, a birthday field. So we can start collecting the birthday of our customers. And as you can imagine, this is something that once you start integrating this with Klaviyo, you can then hook this up with a automatic email flow to give your customers a certain discount or a gift on their birthday, which I think is something quite exciting. And then
can you zoom in a bit more, Tico?
Of course.
Yeah, it is better. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll just go quickly back. So here we have the personal details and then the birthday that I have added. And
so previously, if we want to add like a birthday field, it was, I think, added something like a customer attribute, and it was added in a kind of a hacky way in the backend, right?
Yeah.
How does that differ now?
Yeah, so we would often use a node, and now we just save it directly on an order meta field. So it's still not on a customer level, but it will be on an order level. But with, for example, a Shopify flow or a webhook, we can still customly push this to other third-party tools.
Okay.
But I think in general, the way how easy it is to add this field. Like this time I made it myself, but as you can imagine, people are going to make applications that you can just add a collect birthday fields, and you can just, for a couple of dollars a month, you can probably install this and use this directly. And this is like a field we have used the third-party applications for. So I will show this in a bit as well, but it's called checkout blocks. So another third-party tool. So currently we have a subtotal of 90 euros in our cart. And then this app recognizes that we don't apply for free shipping yet. And then it says, 10 euros more until your order ships free. And then we can just do it add to cart directly from here. And
Yeah,
then
it's super nice.
we apply for free shipping. So currently it didn't go too far into this, but of course, what you could do is that you say, you know, this 2-pack of socks is 15 euros. You know, maybe you can actually make it cheaper as a bundle. So you can say you can combine these things and then actually give a discount on this as well to make it like even more easier for clients to add that.
I think this is a feature we previously would never build in the checkout because it would be too hacky to get it in, or quite hard. We would add it in the cart stage. So when someone would enter the cart, we would show the progress bar saying like, hey, you miss 14 euros, maybe add this pair of socks. But I think, having this in the checkout so much more powerful.
I think especially here we know the address already. So if we're in the cart, you are kind of guessing the address based on the IP address, but you'd never really know where someone is really located. But now we know that I would like to ship to the Netherlands. So then you know, okay, well then these are the shipping options that we have there. And then you can actually calculate it much closer. Before that is often an assumption. Then through the same application, I've also added another element here. So for example, to add gift wrapping to your order. So then again, you know, we can just click it here and then without the page refreshing, it will just add this product and add it to the cart. So
it's quite nice that with these two additions, you already added almost 17 euros extra revenue in the checkout.
Yes, indeed. And I think, you know, the styling also looks directly quite good and it blends in with the rest of the checkout. And then we can just.
And which tool did you use for this?
I will show it a little bit more later, but I used the checkout blocks tool for this.
And checkout blocks is that the one from Gil?
Yeah.
Gil Greenberg. For the ones who want to have latest updates on Shopify, especially the checkout extensions, you should follow him on Twitter. So he's building these checkout blocks extensions. I think he was one of the first to go all in on this, and there are already quite some nice ones out there.
Yes, indeed. So just place the order. And then, you know, this, for example, this is the thank you page. So on any Shopify plan, you can also now start adding these custom UI in the elements here as well, or custom banners, etc., to third-party apps to maybe have people sign up for a loyalty program or any other use case.
Like here in this example, you see the option to sign up for like the newsletter, right?
Yeah, this is just the default one, so I haven't really added new elements here, but you know, you can technically start doing it. And then if we just go to my order in the backend, you can now see that we've just collected this on the order level. It's a customer or say order meta field. And then, as you can imagine, like I just said earlier, we can start using this data how we want. So I will quickly show one of the apps that we've been using for this. So for example, the gift wrapping upsell here. So what's also nice is that you can directly, of course, see the data. So how much revenue you've actually made of this. And you can just add the text and the products, etc., directly from here.
Nice.
Give some extra styling. And this is just, like I said, like one of the many tools that probably people are currently building to start adding upsells to your checkout.
So I think, Tico, will maybe also good to mention what like an advantage of using an off-the-shelf app like this is that. So I think last week we got a request from a client if we could build a certain feature in the checkout. if we would build it hard-coded, the Shopify extension without an interface like Tico is currently showing, it's relatively easy to build. But I think with having more control of the app, like you see in this example, that just takes way more time. And then it's better that you have a dedicated app builder to build this and also add new features in some cases.
So I think for
just makes life easier.
For really custom features, you might still want to, build it yourself, of course, because you can then have more control on what happens. But as you can imagine, someone also has to build this interface. So this will take a regular developer for one client a lot of extra time. But there are these apps where you can just, say, okay, well, now I want to have gift wrapping, but maybe tomorrow I want to actually upsell just the socks over there. And then you can just do that all from here, and this will reflect directly in the checkout. So I think something really.
Do you know if you can schedule these different apps? Because I could imagine that as a merchant, you want to have like a week, you want to use the upsell. For someone to reach certain shipping costs, but maybe a week after you want to have another other campaign scheduled. Do you know if you can already schedule it in this app?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. It could be that it is. I'm not sure if you can put that in the app itself. What I can imagine, so the new approach of the checkout will kind of be similar to what we're used to Shopify themes. So you can just duplicate your checkout just as a Shopify theme, and then you can start editing it and publishing whenever you want. I'm assuming that this will also be accessible through API. So I think Shopify has their own app that you can already use. I kind of forgot the name now, but that you can use to schedule the publish of a Shopify theme. So probably that will be possible here as well. So like you said, indeed, you can rename it, and then maybe you can also schedule that or in the future. And this is where we can then start customizing our checkout. So
yeah, I think for most people listening today who are a merchant, working at a brand, this is like the customizer you're used to, but then for the checkout.
Yeah. So I think what I explained earlier is that you have these fixed places where you can add elements. So I have here my personal details with birthday input. So as you can see there, I can drag and drop it around, and it's not possible for me to inject it, for example, here, but I can put it like here and there, and then I can just drag and drop it around, and just that you're used to it, just directly updates the visual appearance here.
So what you can see is that Shopify restricted some of the options. And I think that's, so Tico and me, when we were preparing for this webinar, we were discussing like, how can we best explain how Shopify approaches this checkout extensibility or adjustments. And it's a bit like comparing Apple with Android. So let's say previously with Shopify, the checkout was a bit built on the, let's say, the Android way, where you could hack in anything and it would look, it could be that it looked cluttered or kind of shitty. Now Shopify says like, okay, you don't get the full freedom anymore, but we're gonna tell you and give you the right tools to make the most optimal checkout. And in some cases, it means that certain things you have in mind are not possible in the checkout, but it's it's kind of for the greater good. They just want to ensure the checkout is always operational and it works properly. So this is, I think, a reason why you cannot add a birthday field in between the shipping address, because it's most logical that you just take your address steps before filling in a birthday field.
Yes, indeed. So then let's see, we can go, for example, to the different pages here. So we can go to the shipping page, and then we have that free shipping upsell from the app that I showed earlier. and we can just remove this app from the checkout like this, and we can add any app. So this is our custom app that we built, but any third-party apps that we have installed, we can add here as well. So if we want another birthday field here, we can do that. We would not do that, but I think that's just something that's really nice. And with this, without the need of having a developer to do this and turn these features on and off from such a user-friendly, like just the regular Shopify interface that you're used to, is just really a really good experience so far. Like while I've been testing it out, so I think that's a little bit of it. And then for example, here you can then again use the app or add another element, for example, with some information about the payments or etc.
Yeah, nice. And do you probably something like, which is what we sometimes see with clients, which we code in, let's say, hard coded, is reviews, that you just want to add some extra trust symbols or show your Trustpilot or Yotpo rating. Those companies will probably also come up with extensions, I assume.
Yeah, I would assume that it will be, for example, we have here, if we go to the order summary, where we have this block, we can add different blocks here. So it would make a lot of sense to, under the order totals, to just have your your payment icons, your Trustpilot, review stars, and elements like that. And yeah, it would be rather weird if they wouldn't start making that now.
Yeah,
I will just quickly show the one-page checkout. So this is already online on the Shopify supply store and Shopify's internal stores that they use. So let's just add something to the cart. But just to quickly show what this will look like in the future. So I'm just going to zoom in a few times. I'm on a big screen.
nice.
So like I showed earlier, you would have the regular 3 steps. So you would have the contact information, the shipping method, and the payment. And this now is all viewable from one view. So I think what we saw earlier is that always a high drop in the payment methods, for example, because there's not a payment method available that the client likes. Now they can technically see this already in one overview and just start editing stuff from here.
So no reloading between the steps. That's nice.
No reloading between steps, indeed. So going to be interesting to see with the new web pixels how we're going to track this, of course, because it's always nice to see where in the flow do people actually drop off. Did they drop off at the payment method or shipping method or delivery? So it will be interesting to see how we're going to track this. But I'm pretty sure Shopify will have an answer to it.
Nice. Okay, I think this was the last part of what you wanted to show, right?
Yes, I'll just.
So let's see. I think if we go to the next step, I think important questions like what's next. If you are already on Shopify and your current checkout is the one which is going to be deprecated in August next year, take the time to review your checkout. So understand, are there any custom elements which you had built in, which need to be migrated to the new checkout? With custom stuff, I mean like maybe like a delivery picker point for DHL or stuff like that, or store pickup, or any custom element in there. And also, understand how you can get the new checkout. So Tico, in the backend of Shopify, you can already upgrade yourself, right, to the new checkout.
Yeah, so it's in the same location where I just like duplicated the checkout. There you can switch in between the old one and the new one. So even if you make the change to the checkout extensibility, the new version, you can, up to August next year, still switch back to the old one. So that's always good to know.
Nice. Yeah, I think so. That's in the backend in settings, checkout, and then you can switch to the new one. But only do this if you're sure what you're doing, because your data tracking definitely needs to be migrated. And if you had something custom built in the checkout, it needs to be migrated as well. So that's also what you need to keep in mind while switching. It's think about the current customizations, think of about your current tracking, and decide if you. So imagine you have something custom built for you. Then decide, do you want to migrate it exactly the way it is? So build it yourself or build it with the agency you're working with, or are you gonna buy an app off the shelf, which maybe is a bit different, but which also serves the purpose. So those are important things to keep in mind. Yes. So I think I see we only have 4 more minutes on the clock. So regarding the Shopify checkout consultation, which we're offering, the team will pick someone from the attendee list and reach out to them after the webinar today. And I was wondering if there are any questions from the attendees. So let me check. So if you see the block on the, I think the chat block, you can add questions in there or in the Q&A widget. So how do you expect Shopify is going to develop the checkout further? I expect that Shopify will really start doubling down on the checkout development. So once they changed everyone to the new Shopify checkout, the opportunities for them are let's say limitless. So they can keep up iterating and ensuring it's the most converting checkout. I see a question in the Q&A. Can we use any of these new checkout features to add a quantity selector in the cart item list of the checkout? That's actually quite a good question. I haven't thought about it. So probably what you mean is that if you're in the checkout and you see that you added 2 pairs of socks and you want to decrease one, do you think that's already possible, Tico?
Okay, repeat the question one more time.
So in the checkout itself, the question if there can be a quantity selector for the products.
For the products that are already in your cart.
Yeah, already in the checkout.
Well, I'm not 100% sure. I know you can add this to the upsell element, for example, that we just showed. So, for example, for the gift wrapping that we just added, that you can add a quantity selected there. I'm not sure if we can add one directly to the line items. I think that would be something that would be really nice, and something that maybe in the future Shopify will launch. If it's not available now.
I think that's very good one, Fabien. Sounds like a good idea and something what should be there. I see also in the webinar chat, can we customize the step number style in the checkout breadcrumbs? Definitely. I think that's through the branding API, right, Tico? Yeah, that's possible. Is there any pain points we need to take into account for the planning? That's a good question. So I would say if you're gonna upgrade or do an upgrade like this on the checkout, don't do it a couple of weeks before the holiday season starts. So if you're planning to do this year, do it in the coming months. But we would say don't do this in the last 4 months of the year because holiday season is important for everyone. We don't expect it to be hard to upgrade, but just to be sure, do it in the coming months or do it early next year, I would say. Let's see, another question. What would be your recommendation to split test one-page checkout versus three-step checkout before making the permanent change? So I think these are two actually pretty good questions. And that's also a question I still have. If it would be possible to choose between a one-page or a three-step checkout. I'm not sure if you heard anything about that yet, Tico.
I'm not entirely sure how that would technically work, but it would make sense to be able to test that. I think it's a whole big question about that. If the one-page checkout will be like just a new default for everyone, or it will be like an option. So that's also something I don't know yet. But I assume that if Shopify goes with it, that it should be like conversion optimizing. But testing it, I haven't thought about that yet.
No. So I think question number one is Shopify going to force everyone to use the one-page checkout? And if not, then it would be probably possible the way you showed the different checkouts which are live that you do a split test, but probably not simultaneously, I would expect. Could we add a terms and condition checkbox before submitting the payment step?
Yeah. So this is
definitely
something that you can make quite easy, or probably already have a third-party tool for this, that we can just have a mandatory terms and conditions that you need to tick off. Same, for example, with the birthday field. The way I implement it now is to collect data, but we can also make this something, if you're selling, for example, alcohol online, that you need someone to be passing a certain age. You can make it mandatory that they need to be, for example, 18 or 21 and inject their or insert their birthday before they can continue to the next step.
Nice. I'm not sure if there's a last question. I see we're already some minutes past due. So one last question. I see it in the Q&A. Can you have market-specific checkouts? Good question. I think the checkout would be the same, but you can probably use the Shopify functions to make differentiations between the different markets. So I would assume, for example, if you are looking, let's say, at the different payment options you offer, probably for the Dutch market, which we're located in, you want to have ideal as a first choice of payment option. But if you look at the German market, PayPal should be on top. While in the US market, probably Shopify Pay or a credit card. So that's definitely something you can do with Shopify functions. Yeah. So, and Tico, probably it works the way that you can see, or the information we take when someone comes into the checkout, we see on which locale someone is shopping. And then based on from which locale they're shopping in the store, we can set certain rules. Yeah,
I think what we did before is quite often that we just take the country from the first step in the checkout. So if you select the Netherlands there, then you hide the local, like the German payment methods and vice versa.
Yeah. Okay. I see. Maybe a final question today, Tico. You can pick in the webinar chat.
You can ask.
So can we hide the express payment methods with functions? So the PayPal and the Apple Pay, if you.
Yeah. I haven't found the answer to this myself yet. I did see something on the Shopify site earlier where there would be like a checkbox in the Shopify, in the customizer of the checkout, where you can hide this. But this feature doesn't seem to be launched, so I'm not entirely sure. I do know that this is something that a lot of our little merchants we work with really want to see, because a lot of people, especially in the EU, maybe PayPal Express checkouts not the most popular yet, so they would like to hide this. So we will see if Shopify will launch this.
Yeah. Okay. In case there are any unanswered questions today, feel free to send them over. Let's see. You can send them to. Let's send them to you, Tico. Tico at askphill.com, and then Tico or the team will get back to you with an answer. Thanks everyone for joining. I think if you want to hear more about Shopify or e-commerce, you can always check out our podcast. What's e-coming? We just finalized season 2 with Shopify as our season sponsor. Season 3 is in the making, so that's also exciting. And you can also subscribe to our e-commerce newsletter. I see in the chat Kelly added both links, so definitely check them out. Thanks a lot, and hope to see you soon. See you later, Tico.
Bye.